I've got about 20 minutes here, and there's an assignment that everybody has. So don't think y'all off the hook because y'all didn't have to stand up here. Y'all have an assignment, but you won't have to talk about it. I want to finish with this building a leader. We covered perception. We covered attitude. Has this blessed y'all already in this second session? Your attention is moving. It's getting to that time. So let's work through this. The third thing is right focus. Everybody say right focus. If you're going to build a team, you got to have right focus, which means you concentrate on the team and not yourself. If you want to see a team break down, let everybody on the team just be about their role on the team. And I can promise you that the team would never accomplish what it's designed to do. The whole purpose of the team is for you to care more about supporting the other people that are contributing than yourself. I like what Cavett Roberts said. He said, true progress in any field is a relay race and not an individual event. So it's important to have right focus, but don't stop there. If I've got right perception, if I've got right attitude, if I've got right focus, then I'll have the right what? I'll have the right what? Results. Here is how results are created. You create results through multiplication because you add value to those around you. So now let me show you what this multiplication looks like. So everything that I'm teaching, as you notice, it builds on the next thing. So I've got the building blocks for what an unstoppable team looks like. Right perception, right attitude, right focus, which brings right results. Now let's talk about what that multiplication looks like as a leader. The first thing in the leadership mandate is that a leader should be a model. Everybody say a model. In other words, a leader is designed to provoke the potential in everybody around him. That's really what a leader is. A leader, it serves a dual purpose. They are catalysts for what you have in you and a cultivator for what's done through you. Let me say that again. A leader as a model is a catalyst and a cultivator. They are catalysts to provoke what's in you, and then they cultivate what comes out of you. The second thing in the leadership mandate is to be a mentor. Everybody say mentor. The purpose of a mentor is to help you understand how to maximize your potential so that your potential will bring productivity to your purpose. A mentor is not somebody that says, just do what I tell you. A mentor is somebody who, because they're a model for you, they're secure enough and have the capacity to make room for the uniqueness of who you are so that you could fully utilize everything that God has put in you. Which leads to the third thing in the leadership mandate, and that's mobilize. Everybody say mobilize. Now, this is where it gets tricky, because even if as a leader I do good with modeling, right, and helping people to recognize their potential, even if I'm an effective mentor to help people be productive in their purpose, oftentimes the leader's blind spot, and this often just comes from priorities and limited time. It has more to do with time constraints and prioritizing priorities. Oftentimes when it comes to developing other leaders, we don't give it the time that it needs for process. But mobilization is the critical mass. Mobilization is that point that when a rocket is taken off and those boosters come off to send into orbit, that's what mobilization is. That's critical, because we all watched some decades ago with Krista McCullough and all of them on the space shuttle when it took off and something went wrong. That's that critical point that determines whether the person you're developing or the team you're developing is going to succeed or fail. You can identify potential, you can help them enhance their purpose, but if you don't create process, everybody say process. And that's it's tedious because it requires critical thinking. It requires you to analyze what you've already analyzed. It requires you to, the Bible talks about how in a multitude of counsel there is safety. It requires you to get with other people who think different than you intentionally. Intentionally. Find somebody who thinks different than you. And I think we need to understand, even when it comes to unity, that just because you think different than me doesn't mean you oppose me. We really have to get out of our feelings. Yeah, we really need to get out of our feelings. Just because you think that, well, you know, you offended me. How? Because I have a brain? I mean, really, like you offended because I said, that ain't your color. You know what I'm saying? Like, you offended. I'm giving you an assessment. You know, you my BFF, you my best girlfriend. I'm trying to tell you that ain't working for your life. You know what I'm saying? And I want your life to work. So don't get a spirit of offense. And you do understand some people, now we're getting to spiritual formation, some people carry offense. So it doesn't matter what you say. You can be giving them a compliment and they feelings hurt. There's like a mother in one of the churches I was pastoring. This was in my early years of pastoring. And so, you know, I was so young, they all called me son. You know, you had 20-year-olds calling me son. You know what I'm saying? So, but one of the mothers in the church, she said, Pastor Ricky, I'm you know, and whenever you hear that tone with mothers, y'all just cover years, the mothers of the church, you know, you know it's something they got. So I don't know what it was. And maybe somebody sat in her seat, I don't know. And she said, you know, my spirit is greased, because she have her dentures in. So the V's wasn't happening right then. We all gonna keep living, and you know that. And so I ain't hating on it at all. I'm just saying that's. So she said, my spirit is greased, and the anointing of wit came over me, because I said, either, you know, I can respond to this, but this ain't really that serious. She likes to laugh. Okay, I got it. So in that moment, and it had to be God, because I didn't even have time to think about it. I said, well, mother, if you so greased, it should have slid right off you. And she laughed so hard, she forgot what she came to me about. And that's how you got to handle, you know, some stuff. Everybody say process. Yeah, just, you know, we could have got deep and we'd have been stuck there. You know what I'm saying? She probably tried to vote me out. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, I had to really think about that for a month. I had to be about 2021. I had to really think about that. Like, okay, now, do I want to respond to her being greased about something that she shouldn't be greased about? Or are we going to deal with this grease that's in front of me? Lord, thank you for the gift. You know, so we went right there. So understand process. And then the last thing in the leadership mandate is multiply. Everybody say multiply. I like what J.F. Kennedy said. He said the best way to go along is to get along with others. Grow leaders, not just followers. Now, this is critical. This is critical, which is going to lead me to my next point about a healthy ecosystem for leadership. Because here at Bethlehem Temple, in this season of the edge, everybody you touch, you're attempting to transform. But here it is. You're not transforming them just to follow what they see you do. You're transforming them to function in what God has called them to. Let me say that again. They're not being transformed just to follow what they see you do. They're being transformed to function in what God has called them to do. And here's what you got to understand. Leadership requires a healthy ecosystem. What does that look like? It means leaders must create an environment of positive interaction through an attitude of interdependency. Now you know the different levels of dependency. You have codependency, right? Which is a psychosis where a person basically becomes an invalid. They have arrested development. Even if they can do something, they won't do anything. It's called failure to launch. And so they depend on somebody else to do things. Then the other extreme of codependence is independence, where you do everything by yourself. You don't listen to anybody else. You don't consult anybody else. I got this. It's me and my, and me and my make we. And here's how we gonna do it. But in between codependence and independence is interdependence. And what interdependence says is I can't be everything I ought to be unless you're being everything you ought to be. And so now we have these interchangeable parts that I encourage you so you can grow, you encourage me so I can grow, and through this tandem, we keep growing together. And before long, we look back and say, look at how far we've come. And you realize then, I couldn't have done this without you, and you couldn't have done it without me. So that's the ecosystem. In other words, you want to create an environment where it's healthy for people to give each other critical analysis. Now, let me disclaimer this. There's a difference in critical analysis and somebody who's just critical. Let me say that because somebody walk out here, you heard what the preacher said, we need to have a healthy ecosystem to give critical analysis. Well, you need to run just with that tone right there. Just get away from that. That's not a license for you to walk around and be critical, because people who are always critical of everything are normally doing nothing. When I talk about critical analysis, it means somebody who you are collaborating with, who is a part of moving something forward, and they're telling you something that's going to help you. I don't want you to be too messy, but just look at somebody and say, you do need some help. Yeah, watch your tone now, but just tell them you do need some help. And if you want to put it every now and then on that, that's fine. I believe leaders are readers. So throughout this, I've got some books that I have read that I recommend. Peter Drucker, in his book, The Effective Executive, says, no leader has ever suffered because his people were strong and effective. It's a small leader that keeps people small and expects to become greater. Let me say that again. It's a small leader that keeps people small and expect things to become greater. So then I have this thing called the leader lift. Everybody say the leader lift. Leaders around you lift your load in two ways. Number one, leaders around you lift your load by becoming a sounding board for you. In other words, an effective leader is somebody that other leaders can go to and just work out. That's what workshops, that was the etiology of workshops, was to create environment. It wasn't just teaching sessions, but in the original design of workshops, especially in corporate construct and in leadership spaces, was to provide a laboratory where leaders could work out ideas. So just like what I did with the leaders that came up here today, they were able to share out of what they're already working out. And that's very critical. And so it creates a sounding board, and you got a glimpse into their life from an angle that even though you see what they do, you know some of the things they do, you like, oh, now I understand why they're doing that. So leaders become sounding boards, but not only that, this is critical. Leaders possess a leadership mindset. And I'm getting ready to explain that. It's impossible to say you're a leader, but you never want to go anywhere. How does that work? And I've seen people in the role of leadership who were atrophied and paralyzed. I wish I had the time. I didn't even get to the second lesson I wanted to get to, so that means y'all got to bring me back if you've been blessed by this. Y'all want me to come? That was the key. But there's something called risk lock. Has anybody ever heard of that? Risk lock. Risk lock looks like gridlock. So the 405, the 5, yeah, gridlock. So you know how gridlock works. Gridlock is when the traffic is so congested that even if there was a route around it, you can't see it. That's gridlock. So that's how risk lock looks. You can become so risk averse and afraid to try something different that even if it would be a better way, you can't see it because you're afraid to try. Oh my. Wow. And so that's why it's important to understand that a leader has to have a leader, and I like to say a leadership mindset. Not just a leadership mindset. A leadership mindset is understanding that the reason I'm in this role, the reason I'm doing this function is because I'm the answer to a question, I'm a solution to a problem, and I'm a direction to a dilemma. Let me give that to you again. I'm an answer, write this down as a leader. As a leader, I'm an answer to a question. I'm a solution to a problem, and I'm a direction to a dilemma. Give it to you one more time. I'm an answer to a question. So when a leader walks in the room, what they're looking for, even if they don't articulate it, is what's the question? I'm an answer to a question. Secondly, they're saying, what's the problem? You know, kind of like you do with your kids, grandkids. You see some argument. What's the problem? Because as the parent, you're the solution. Or should. I'm a solution to the problem. And then 3, I'm the direction for a dilemma. That's a leadership mindset. Now let me give you this, and I said it to you earlier, but I'll give it to you encapsulated. You can take a picture of the screen. This leadership DNA. I've got 2 minutes and counting. Attitude is a desire to become more. Aptitude is a desire to know more. And appetite is a desire to want more. And I wanted to get that on the screen because some of y'all say because I didn't get a chance to write it down. So you've got it now. I've got to skip forward here. Wait, somebody say wait. I'm going backwards. Give me 1 minute. There it is. Got it. Take a picture. You're very welcome. My pleasure. So I want you to get ready because I'm going to walk you all through what everybody's going to participate in. And this is going to be something that in your different departments and areas of ministry, this will even be something good to do with your teams at work, if you're an entrepreneur, with those that are partnered in your business, even with your family. But I'm getting ready to walk you through what I call a leadership evaluation. I call it the leadership IQ. So this is designed, it's 10 things that I uniquely designed to help you to assess what your leadership IQ is and where you need to develop. Because if you're going to be an edge leader, then you need to be committed to develop. That's what we're today. We know God's going to do what God does tomorrow, but you need moments like this where even though the Spirit is still here, the glory of God is still here, but where you can critically think, where you can process things, where you can, I'm watching some of you even while I'm teaching, apply things and go, oh yeah, I need that here. I need to put that here. That's what this is about, because when we talk about the kingdom of God is fulfilled through our lives. Yes, sir. It's my life. It's my life. So the better, watch this, the better the areas of my life work, is the more effective I'm going to be in the kingdom. And everything just got to work in congruence. So your marriage has got to work. Your family life has got to work. Your hobbies have got to work. Your interests have got to work. Everything in your life has got to be working in tandem so that as the church, you can fulfill what God wants to do through your life. So let's quickly, I've got to skip ahead. I'm so sorry because I want to deal with building the team. Let me just give this to you quickly on my way there. Building the team. 1, trust others with responsibility. I'm going to put it all up there for you, Bishop. 2, train others to be capable and competent. Did y'all get that? Did y'all get trust others? Y'all need me to go back? I can't. Okay. Just tell me what, y'all tell me what to do now. We family. Don't be nice to me no more. Just say go back. That we go. Trust others with responsibility. If you're going to build an effective team, look at your neighbor and say, let them do it. You know, yeah. Pastor Richard and I understand, in old school, they'll get up and preach. We need to do, and then when you come to show up to do it, not yet. You're like, well, what? You just said this is what we're supposed to be doing. Well, if you don't do everything, what I'm here for? And that was that old paradigm. It wasn't leadership, but we ascribed leadership qualities to it. It was a dictatorship. It's what it was. Okay, it is what it was. And so it's important that you trust others with responsibility. But then number 2, don't just trust them with it. Somebody say train them for it. See, that's critical. Don't just trust me to do it. You set me up for failure if you don't train me to do it. If you don't train me to do it. Our screen, I think you need to, is being up there? Okay. Train them to do it. But then number 3, this is critical. Unleash them with authority. That's like telling somebody they can handle purchase orders, but you don't give them a company credit card. So they got to come find. I mean, if you put them in this role, if you trust them, and if you train them, then give them the authority. And let me tell you, sometimes that's all some people need. Some people are one decision away from breaking through to the purpose that God has for their life. And they need somebody to give them permission. So some people, they just need somebody to give them permission to do what they were created and called to do. So unleash them with authority. Number 4, communicate for clarity and quality. Leaders, when you're talking to your teams, your organizations about what they need to do, think out your process. Don't just tell them, well, we want to raise X amount of dollars. We want to do it in this amount of time. Okay, that's wonderful. But as a leader, you need to bring me some strategy. Let's have some ideas, which means you have the meeting before the meeting. And you bring people into council who you know can get things done. And it doesn't and let's do this. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who always operates in church space. If what you're trying to do is designed to take you beyond church space. Well, they're not here every Sunday. Yeah, because they're making money around the world. I mean, that's why we have virtual membership. I'm right now, while we're getting ready to build an $18 million building, which thank God is debt free and already paid for. We break ground April 1st, and we're literally it's not going to be ceremonial. We're literally bringing in the earth movers the day that we do the ceremonial groundbreaking. But while we're doing that, right now as I speak, we're on a 90-day plan where we want to build a virtual congregation that will include relationship, fellowship, discipleship, and ministry engagement, all in a virtual space around the world. Where individuals in Tokyo or New York or Houston who say, I want to be a part of your ministry movement, or if they're in Chicago, but never have to show up in the building, but yet will receive the spiritual formation they need to become useful as the church in building God's kingdom. So that's how we've got to move. So you got to communicate for clarity and quality. And then 5th, build up the team through loving support. All right, I'm finishing this. Yes, sir. See, I knew somebody was going to tell me what to do. Number 5. Okay. Build up the team through loving support. Can I tell you, it costs you nothing to encourage people. Let me tell you something, and I'm not tooting my horn. I'm just giving you an example, and it's the most recent example I have. I flew in yesterday. Flight was 3 hours delayed. I was delirious. I get to National Rental Car. I tell the young man I need a premium crossover upgrade. He was new, so he didn't know what a premium crossover upgrade was. I did tell you that I'd been in the airport for 3 hours in Chicago for a delayed flight. I was delirious. So I say to the young man, I need a premium crossover upgrade. Second time, uno, dos. And he didn't know what a premium, and he's the manager. My wife is on my AirPods saying, baby, how you doing? I know baby, how you doing mean, I know you're tired. So watch your voice. I know how to interpret tongues. So, baby, how you doing? Yeah, I know what that means. So I said, yeah, so a third time, premium crossover upgrade is when the Emerald Club member has a mid-size at a discounted rate, but you give them the executive level. And I said, like, i.e. like Tahoe, Lexus, Bentley if you got it, you know. And the young man said, okay, I'm gonna find that for you. I said, well, while you doing that, what's your Zelle number? See, I'm giving him a little, letting him know there's a promise coming if you hold your peace and follow my lead. And so he finds me a new one, right? I wasn't even looking at that one. He pulled up an Armada. I was like, I said, that's what I'm looking for. Before I got out of the lot, I Zelled him. You would have thought Christmas had come again with his response, because you build people through loving support. I didn't have to do that. He's doing his job. He didn't even understand his job, but because he took the initiative and had the capacity to let me help him understand his job, I rewarded him. He should have been paying me because I did the work. But that's what you got to do with your team. That's not coddling them. That's not playing to them. What you're doing is showing people they're valuable. Even people you pay for something, it ain't gonna hurt you to give them a tip. If we practice tithing, tipping should be easy. I've never understood how people who practice tithing don't know how to. That's another subject. I'm gonna leave that alone. But learn that. Last thing, the 101% principle. Is this good for y'all? All right. 101% principle. Find the one thing that you believe is the potential leader's greatest asset and give 100% encouragement in that area. Focusing on a person's strengths promotes positive growth, confidence, and success as a potential leader. With all of my staff, with all of the leaders around me, I do not give them critical analysis ever without first acknowledging what they are doing exceptionally well. Every time. And sometimes, even if it's been messed up royally, I still come in and say, listen, I so appreciate you. And it's genuine. I thank you for what you're doing. We couldn't be where we are without you. And then I enumerate some of the things that they're doing. Maybe I do that with my teeth a little clenched, but I recognize it. And then I say, but here are just a couple of areas I'd like you to give some attention to. Not you messed up, you wrong, I don't know why you keep doing this. No. Just give it some attention. And then I say, and how can I help you? And I watch them, even if there was a little huffiness, because, nobody likes to be told they messed up, even because they already know it, right? But I notice when I say, is there anything I can do? Most times they say, no, Pastor, I got it from here. But I can tell there's a relief with just knowing you have the support. And that's important. So here it is. I'm getting ready to check your leadership IQ. I'm going to move you through these. And this is something I would encourage you to go back and visit at your leisure. Let me say to you today, and I'll say it again tomorrow, but I have absolutely enjoyed this time of sharing in your leadership summit, and you ought to give yourselves a hand for giving up your whole Saturday to come and grow. And I pray that it has been worth your time. Let's go through this leadership IQ. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be evaluating yourself. So I'm going to give you a leadership attribute. I'm going to give you a definition. And then you're going to evaluate yourself from 1 to 5. From 1 to 5. So 5 means you're doing great. 4 means you're doing good. 3 means you're doing fair. 2 means you're failing. And 1 is what I call leadership 911. You need critical care. All right? So the most points you can give yourself for any one of these is what? 5. The less amount of points you can get is what? 1. Which means your total score can't be higher than what? You got 10 of these, 50, right? Okay, so you got 100. Well, maybe you're just trying to make it to heaven, but that doesn't apply here. All right, let's go. Number 1, as a leader, how is your positivity IQ? What does that mean? The ability to work with and see people and situations in a positive way. How well do you do staying positive even when you're in situations or dealing with people who are less than positive? If you do great at this, put a 5. If you do good, put a 4. Put 3 if you do fair. If you're failing, put 2. If you're in leadership 911, put 1. Got it. Number 2. Servanthood IQ, the willingness to submit, be a team player, and follow the leader. One of the things that stands out to me in scriptures in the Gospels is a centurion that came to Jesus and said, I know how to be under authority because I'm in authority. And that's very critical as a leader. The greatest example of servanthood should be those that are in authority. It should be easier for you to submit than anybody else because you understand the responsibility that comes with authority. So rate yourself. Do you do great at servanthood, good, fair, failing, or 911? Number 3, what is your growth potential IQ? What does that mean? Your hunger for personal growth and development, the ability to keep growing as the job expands. Are you a person that as the needs of the ministry, the organization, the business grow, you're willing to learn and relearn what you need to know to grow with it? Or are you one of those people that say, I just wish it was like it was? If you're that person, you're at 911. But if you're somebody who say, I'll keep growing, then you're at a 5. All right. Number 4, y'all can slow me down if you need to. Number 4, what is your follow-through IQ? The determination to get the job done completely and with consistency. Not just finishing, but finishing well. Not like the way I used to do as a kid. When I had to cut the grass on Sunday and I'd rather be with my friends, and I finished it, but it was still patches as high as cotton all over the yard, which showed that I didn't really want to do it. So that's what follow through is about. It's not just you completing the task, but your consistency in getting the task done well. 5 if you're great, 4 if you're good, 3 if you're fair, 2 if you're failing, 1 if you're a leadership 911. Your loyalty. Number 5. What's your loyalty IQ? The willingness to always put the organization above your personal ambitions and desires. Loyalty. Are you great at it? God bless you. He said, I hadn't heard him on none of the other ones, but it's getting late in the evening, sun going down. I got to warn y'all, the later it get, I'm not responsible for what comes out of my mouth. Uh, he said, I got that with loyalty. I'm like, well, where were you on servanthood, positivity, follow through? No, I'm just playing. Just playing. You can't give a preacher nothing, he gonna run with it. We just gonna. Number 6, resiliency. And so I know what I'm doing. I'm keeping y'all laughing to keep y'all woke for these next 3 minutes. Resiliency, because y'all not gonna say, well, we got to the end, I was falling asleep. No, you wasn't, you was laughing. Let the record reflect. Ben, make sure you get the camera on all the laughs. So when they do evaluation. Resiliency, the ability to bounce back when problems arise. I think that's a critical trait for a leader. Because life, as they say, life be lifing. Life. And sometimes life be mathing. It just start compounding stuff with interest and dividends. And you got to be able to bounce back in that. So rate yourself with, and be honest, because look at somebody and say, this is about you. Yeah, so be honest with yourself. Number 7, what is your integrity IQ? Your trust, somebody say, But I am hearing all kind of noises. I'm hearing folk that hadn't said amen all day go, my God, Jesus. I didn't know he was gonna hit us like this at the end. I thought it was gonna get softer. He's just coming in for us now. Integrity. I'm trying to get you to the altar tomorrow, so I'm gonna let you feel a little pressure right now. Integrity, trustworthiness, and solid character, consistent in words and walk. Somebody talked about that in the assistant pastor remarks about a leader don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. So that's what integrity is. Rate yourself. This is good. Number 8, big picture mindset. The ability to see the whole organization and all of its needs. Even though you may have a particular place, like we talked about the members of the body, you may have a particular place that you serve in, but you understand that interdependence, that this is a part of something bigger. Just look at somebody and say, I'm a part of something bigger. Yeah, that's why you're here today, because you are a part of something bigger. And then number 9, discipline. The willingness to do what is required regardless of your personal mood. If you the praise and worship leader and all hell has been happening all month, you don't come up and say, praise the Lord, saints. Well, we made it. Anybody who feel like praising God, I guess we are praising. And the rest of y'all that's been going through hell like me, we just gonna make it through. You can't do that. You can't do that. You got to come up here and realize I've got an audience of one who's King of Kings, who's Lord of Lords, and who's the reason I'm still standing after all the wind and fire has blown. And to him, I give worship. And then when you finish, you can go and pass out somewhere and kick all night long. You get what I'm saying? Somebody say that's leadership. And that don't mean you become delusional. Okay, that don't mean become delusional. You're not ignoring it, because then we get the act. If you ignore it, you go over the top. We like, okay, we not with her today either, or him. But just come in and as a leader, let your heart speak. But don't wear your feelings on your sleeves. Because life has been bad, then you gonna respond. And then lastly, gratitude. This is so important. An attitude of thankfulness that becomes a way of life. So rate yourself for each of these. For each one, you can only score yourself 5 as great, 1 as leadership 911. The highest score you can get is 50. The lowest score you can get is 10, unless you just decided it was zeros. That wasn't in the equation. But total up your score, because I want to tell you the results. I got to give you the results. It's a setup. It's a setup. Brother Loyalty, it's a setup. We about to rate ourselves now. Somebody going to be speaking in tongues after this. This got all the noises coming. Watch this. Here it is. If you scored 30 to 50, if you scored 30 to 50, You're interdependent. You're an interdependent leader, which means you're a healthy leader. If you scored 30 to 50, you are an interdependent leader. That means you have a good balance of the traits. Of course, you've paid attention to what you need to improve in, but you're an interdependent leader. If you scored 20 to 30, you need improvement. Need improvement. Or 20 to 29, you need improvement. And if you scored 10 to 19, somebody said, "No, I knew it was coming." You need implementation. So score yourself. I would encourage. So here's what I would encourage you to do. This is how I use this with my teams. Do this at a cellular level. So start with a good friend first, and then let them rate you without showing them how you rate it yourself. So go through these 10 and go through them and then say, "Now you rate me. How do you think I do as Lord?" And tell them not to show you the score until they finish. And then you compare theirs with yours. Then after you do that with a friend, do it with your team. Whoever it is that you work with, do ministry with, do it with your team. And this is good for even a church retreat to bring this exercise here. There are a couple of things that I want to mention. There are QR codes on the screen to be connected to all of the things that we're doing as the top QR code, or you can text Ricky Allmon at 22828 because there are resources, materials, podcasts on YouTube about leadership. So there are a lot of things to connect with. And then I wish I would have had the hard copies of Life Lesson with me. We just did our 5th running of that book. And so my favorite book in the Bible is the book of Proverbs. And this started as a kid. And so I wanted to write a book that was modeled and patterned after the book of Proverbs. So it's 31 original life lessons where I have a life thought, life lesson, life application, and then I give you a room for life journey. And it's also an audio book. So it's on every platform, Audible, iTunes, and you can get it on Kindle, and we'll have more hard copies available as well. And then Press Reset, Train Your Thoughts to Create Your Future, is a book I wrote in the middle of the pandemic because I was counseling so many pastors, executives, marriages. My wife and I were counseling. And so she said to me, "You need to write a book about this, help people to calibrate." There's a chapter in there, and I talked about all you need is some CBT, not CBD. And you know, CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, but I talk about that process. That book is just digital, but you can scan that QR code. Again, thank you all so much for allowing me to share. God bless you.
Would you give Dr. Allmon a hand, please? Would you thank God for this gift to the body of Christ? I would say this: when the sower threw out the seeds, the birds ate it, and the birds got a meal for one day. This meal that we receive today will last you a lifetime if it germinates. Oh my. Don't let this get by you, please. This was this seminar was worth thousands of dollars. I'm telling you, what we heard today, you could not buy that. This man has spent hours and hours learning, being taught, and all of that. And what we were able to receive in a few hours, this is life-changing. It should be life-changing. So please, don't let the birds eat this. Watch out for those birds. Because if this gets away from you, then you can't blame anybody but yourself. because this man took a 3-hour delay. Problems with an upgrade. To be here with us in the rain and all of this. So let's one more time. Let's give God praise for him. We appreciate you, Dr. Andrew. We appreciate you. And so on tomorrow, don't play around.
Is where great ideas go to die. Status quo places conformity before productivity.